So Mike, if you can run through everyone, how they can ask questions, that we actually, it's gonna be recording this session too. So we just wanna give everyone heads up. I know that Michael is joining us right now. So yeah, thank you.
Yes, hi everybody. Thanks so much for being here. So we're going to run what we're going to do tonight. Thank you all for being here. We really appreciate your presence. We're going to start off our conversation tonight with an introduction from Assemblymember Michael Blake, representing the 79th District in the South Bronx. And then we're going to hear from Bronx Executive Superintendent Meisha Ross Porter. And then we're going to hear from representatives from constituencies from across the New York City education system, teachers and parents, students, principals, community education council representatives, school superintendents. And then we're going to cap everything off by having a Q&A session at the end, at which the various superintendents and representatives can answer questions from folks about regarding whatever concerns and questions they may have about the upcoming school year. We really appreciate everybody being here. Thank you all so much. And now we're going to turn it over to Assembly Member Michael Blake.
Good evening. Good to see everybody in this Zoom reality that we are in. Thank you for everything that you're doing. And thank you for being so consistent in helping our communities. My name is Michael Blake. I have the honor of being one of your assembly members in the Bronx. And I just want to say thank you to each of you being on the line, to the students, to the parents, to the administrators, to the educators, principals, superintendent, everybody. We just want to say thank you. It's good to see so many friends and allies, and it is so good to see that you all have very good Zoom backgrounds. That is important in this environment that we are in right now. So everyone, I will speak very briefly. I just want everybody to know this is being recorded so that we can follow up with everyone afterwards who's not able to be on. And thank you to our partners at BronxNet for allowing us to showcase this live tonight as well. We thank everyone for that opportunity. Allow me, before we go a step further, I want to acknowledge and give an opportunity for a brief welcome hello. Rose DeStefano, who's from My Bronx Impact, who's been such a great partner with us. Rose, if you can say a quick hello, we'd be very grateful right now. I think, I know Yaz and Mac have to unmute Rose's line if they can. And just as we prepare here, there we go. Go ahead, Rose.
Yep. Hi. Thank you, Blake, and always love partnering with you. And thanks to everyone who joined the call this evening. I'm Rose DeStefano. I'm the Senior Director of Collective Impact at Children's Aid. And I just wanted to remind everybody that we have a free online resource website. So anything that folks need between housing and food, legal support, you can go to my.bronximpact.org and visit that website. I know a lot of people need a lot right now. I know I do. And so I'll pop that website into the chat, but also don't forget to fill out the census, and I'll pass it back over to you, Blake. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And so just so everybody's on the same page, here's where we're going to go in the flow of this conversation. And again, we thank you for being with us tonight. So we're going to do a few different things. Number one, to our participants, we have, of course, our Executive Superintendent, Meisha Ross Porter, is going to be our next speaker. Danielle Presto has been amazing over at PSMS 29. Our UFT Secretary, Leroy Barr, which your leadership is very timely, and thank you to Cass and everyone for making sure you participate. To our community members, Maria and Destiny, we thank you. To Farah, who has been a blessing out of CEC. Of course, to our CEC 7 leadership, Rafael, you've been fantastic. Thank you, good brother, and Erica Tabaya as well from D8. They'll be all participating. So what we're doing today is giving you a sense of what people are saying that they need in the immediate to effectively reopen, and also how do we reimagine education. This is new terrain for all of us, everybody. And it's okay for us to understand we may be a little scared or concerned, but it's okay. But we'll be able to build from here. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to turn this over to my dear friend, dear sister, our executive superintendent for the Bronx, Meisha Ross-Porter, for her to welcome everyone, give a vision of what's happening now, as we know that we push back until September 21st in terms of what's happening. And then from there, I'll jump back in for the rest of the flow of the conversation. So if we can, at this time, please unmute our Madam Superintendent so she can take it away from here. Go for it.
Well, thank you, team, and thank you, my brother, Assemblyman Blake. Thank you for being a true partner, always, and a real champion for Bronx and our communities. I also want to just really thank BronxNet. From the beginning of this pandemic, they jumped in as a real partner, offering another option for our families in remote learning by offering up channels and space for free that we've been able to take advantage of. So I really want to thank you for that. Today, we just really want to be here in partnership with the community. One of the things that I have been really clear about is that this moment is not about what the education system is going to do alone. It's about what our partners, our community members, our elected officials, our parents, and educators are going to do together. And so this moment is about remaining true to that commitment. As the executive superintendent, I lead the Bronx BCO and supervise the 9 Bronx superintendents. I want to thank both Superintendent Tabaya and Superintendent Alvarez and their teams for being present in this moment. And I have to say, 2 superintendents who truly get what it means to be a community superintendent, that it's not just about what they do with their schools, but it's about the way they build and support their communities. So you got 2 of my very best superintendents who really get the importance of this work. And I'm so proud of both of them. Even when I got to deliver pow-pows, I'm so proud of both of them. So let me just share that the mission of the BCO is to improve student achievement and eliminate opportunity gaps by working collaboratively with superintendents to provide targeted, comprehensive instructional and operational support for all schools. And basically what that means is that our resources that live here at the BCO operate in service of the goals of the BCO, our superintendents, and our school. And today is about continuing that and really thinking about how together we really build that partnership. And so I want to thank, I see my friend Leroy Barr here from the UFT, and I really want to thank the UFT. I want to thank the CSA. They're not here in representation, but their members are here. And the DOE and the Chancellor for really coming together and making a much needed change so that our principals, teachers, and schools would have the time and space that they needed to really get ready to open up to service our students. What we know is that while remote learning is what we have to do right now, we know that nothing replaces that interpersonal relationship that happens between students and teachers in the classroom. So our collective goal as a system is to get back to that, but we're not going to get back to that absent being clear about what's going to keep us all safe. So you all heard, but I'm here to repeat, the first day of in-person learning is now September 21st. Teachers are going to report to school on September 8th as planned, and they will be working with their principals and other school faculty members to get ready for in-person learning and remote learning. Between September 16th and 20th, teachers will begin to orientate their students to remote learning, but also what in-person learning will look like for them. And beginning today across the city, there's 48-hour testing available to teachers and school-based staff at 42 sites, health and hospital sites across the city. And so teachers and faculty members can go on to the nyc.gov website for that information about the sites and make appointments. because we know, and this is really as a result of our partnership, that what is critical in this moment is that testing. And no matter what people say outside of this is not a circle, this is a square, but outside of this square, we know that testing, contact tracing is important to managing this virus and ensuring that we can eventually return to school safely. I want to acknowledge, though, that the other thing that's important in this moment is we need to really be thinking collectively as a community about not how we're going to get back to normal or what we were, but what we're going to do with this moment and who we will become as educators and who we will become as community members. This is an amazing opportunity. And I want to also, before I pass it back to our assemblyman, I want to acknowledge all of the parents, all of my parent coordinators, all of my family leadership coordinators, my family support coordinators, who have been so instrumental in ensuring that our families had all of the resources that they needed to meet this demand that was placed upon them, that we had to really partner, and parents who've always been their children's first teacher became the real first teacher. Like, you were first period teacher for all of your children. And so I want to thank you, but I also want to thank all of the folks, all of the team members and staff members and CC members who were advocates for families and parents across the city, because I got so many calls from our parent leaders saying, hey, I have a neighbor who needs this. I have a neighbor who doesn't have a device. I have a neighbor whose child has an IEP and is not getting services. Or I have a neighbor who just can't get in touch with the school. And so this was really a moment that we became a community, and I'm so proud. We will continue to work collaboratively with our community members to advance our goals around equity. We haven't lost our focus in the Bronx on what our priorities are, and our priorities are and continue to be to continue to improve academic outcomes for students. And while we're in this window of what testing looks like, it really gives us the opportunity to really think differently about curriculum and what our students' learning experiences will be. We're going to continue to be committed and investing to strengthening the social emotional learning and building culturally responsive, anti-racist school communities for our students, because we know how important it is for our students in the Boogie Down Bronx, the brownest borough in New York City, to see themselves reflected in the curriculum. And finally, we're going to continue to develop our school leaders, but also really work to make sure that our students, I said this to the Assemblyman Blake, in the beginning of this pandemic, he asked me one of the most important questions that I didn't want him to ask me. And it was in the beginning, we were still figuring things out. And he said to me, he didn't ask me how many kids were logging on. He asked me, how do you know students are learning? How do you know that they are learning? And I have to say that in the beginning, we knew that they were on and we knew we had to get them connected, but we had to develop our collective muscle to get them to learning. And that's what this moment is about. It's about creating amazing learning spaces for students, both in person and remote. And I'm confident that together, in partnership with our community partners, our UFT partners, our CSA partners, and my amazing superintendents, that we're going to get this done. So this evening, we are here for you. We are here to answer questions. But I will say, what we won't do is give you an answer we don't have. And so I want to ask for grace in advance, because we all know that every day something in this world changes. It is just the nature of where we are right now. And so give us the grace to take a question, so that if we don't have the answer, we can get you the right answer, the appropriate answer, and make sure that we are really being partners. So thank you all for being present, and I look forward to being in partnership.
Mm.
We're having a good scenario where there's more people that wanted to get in, so we had to expand the capacity in real time. So that was the delay there. And I would encourage everyone, if you have others who want to join, you can tell them they can join on in here. I am going to go to our student and our parent next, and then come back around, because something that's important to me is we hear from those that are most impacted first and foremost, and then build up, right, for that community impact from there. But before we do that, if you have questions, everybody, you can put them in the chat. We will compile them. We'll respond as when we can, when we go. I know, Erica and Rafael will be ready. I have a feeling to be questions that will be coming to both of your communities as well, in that manner. But Madam Superintendent, if I might, very briefly, there is some specific ones that I would just love to toss to you, top line. So a question is being asked is, how is the online schooling going to work? Will it be full-time? What will the hours be? I think some of this is a timing question. And then separately, what is the plan to ensure 2 teachers are in the classroom from an ICT classroom, is being asked. So those 2 there. And then the third one, and I'm saying this aloud because some people are on their phones, and for those on BronxNet, they may not be seeing it. What happens if a child had already had a test done? Do they have to do it again? So again, testing for COVID. And I think that's not just for the child. I think that's for the teachers as well, so people can be aware of where that currently is. And Leroy, I know we'll be coming to you in a little bit to also jump in on some of this. How is online school going to work? And then how do we ensure 2 teachers in an ICT classroom? So Superintendent, if you can answer those, and then we'll come back. We need to unmute Meisha, please.
Okay, thank
There
you.
you go.
So first I'll start with remote learning. So remote learning the difference between where we went in the summer, in the spring compared to now is that, I like to describe it as we went to the emergency room and we had to triage in the spring, and now we are in a very different place. And so remote learning will include live instruction every day for students. Students, and you'll probably hear a bit more from our superintendents, every school has selected a different model, a schedule model for the days that students will be in school. And so students will have a different schedule, probably, every other day, depending on what school they attend. But what we are excited about is that we agree with our education partners that our students need live instruction, live engagement with their teachers. And so that is what will be different than the spring. The other question was about testing, and there was another one.
So yes, on testing, will they have to do it again if they've already done it, and what that process will be? And then about the 2 teachers to a classroom for an ICT.
The ICT classes, yes. So what our guidance to schools has been around ICT is that we're going to have to be creative in some cases, but that we are true to the model. And so that means that when students are in an ICT class, they should have access to both teachers, the ICT teacher, the special educator, and the general educator. And so we are still working on guidance for schools around what that looks like. We're still in conversations with our union partners, but what we've been very clear to schools is that we must remain true to the model in support of a student's IEP. As far as testing, no one is required, but we're encouraging people. And I am lifting up that level of encouragement both to families and educators and staff members, that New York City has done a phenomenal job of bringing down the spread. And so if we all know, and I saw all the folks nodding with me in agreement when I said how important those relationships are between students and teachers in class, then we have to be the ones to make that happen. And so regular testing is going to be important. Will folks be mandated to test? No, but there will be mandatory random testing that happens by school and by building. About 10 to 20% of the overall population will be randomly tested monthly. And we're asking staff members and students to answer health questions daily as they enter the building. So we're going to be monitoring daily temperatures, health and wellness, and I feel like a terrible parent now, but when I was a principal, I used to tell students, and as a parent, I would say, I don't care what's wrong with you, you bring your butt to school, right? You got a little cold, take a little cough syrup, we're going to school. My daughter can attest to that, but we are really asking people now, if you are sick, if you don't feel well, to stay home. And so this is a different time. And, you know, being home, you couldn't continue to engage remotely. So it's not like when you stayed home before, you had to get a package the next day. There's still opportunities for students to engage remotely. Because I've had a number of parents say, well, what if my child gets sick and has to quarantine or is exposed? What's that going to do to their attendance? We understand we're in a different place. So more to come on the ICT partnerships and what that will look like. But, you know, the message is really, we have to remain true to the model and true to the spirit of our students' IEP.
Absolutely. And there's questions in the chat. We're going to come back to the questions, everybody, if that's all right. I would say we do have to be leaders ourselves, you know, myself included. I've gone and gotten tested, you know, tested negative. I went to Lincoln. Great shout out to the team at Lincoln for that. But the only way we're going to all figure this out is if we do this together, everybody, right? You know, this is not easy for any of us. The fact that we're having a education town hall on Zoom is an indication of the new normal that we're in, that we have to figure out together. Allow me, we're going to come back to some of the questions that are listed here. There are many, don't worry, we'll come to you. I'm going to ask for, if we can unmute Maria's line, Maria Panora. It's important for us that we hear from the community. We're going to talk about our principal, our UFT leadership, our CEC, et cetera. But I think we can all agree, we need to know and hear from the community, what do they need from us, right? So that we can support them. So Maria, would love just to hear just a few moments from you on what you need to hear from us and what you need from us so that we can be supportive to the community. Go ahead, Maria.
Yes, good evening to all. Thank you for this opportunity to speak as a parent. I have a fifth grader. She was fifth grade. Now she's going to sixth grade to middle school. So even working with that transition and seeing how this is going to go, I do want to quickly just say first, thank you to everyone here, but especially thank you to everyone who works in the school or just part of the school community. Because through all of this, we all had many challenges through the pandemic, specifically with our kids' education. But there were a lot of great things that you all did to ensure that I know my kid, but definitely the kids in our school and in our community, that they were learning. But as we know, there's always room for improvement. So one of the things that I know that as a parent myself, as an active participant of all the PTAs and the CECs, and from just speaking to many parents from different schools, we appreciate the many emails that we get from the DOE, but sometimes it's like, they're very long emails and wordy emails. And it's like when we go to the hospital and sometimes we just tell the doctor, I understand you using all that terminology to describe whatever's happening with my body, but can you shorten it out and make it a little more clear? Especially, I would say, for the families that struggle, or the families that don't have that rich vocabulary to fully understand all the guidelines, because sometimes we get pages of the guidelines that being shared. And again, I do appreciate we get that. My principal sends that immediately to me. And again, I appreciate that. But sometimes I have to have a group of parents with myself where we have to kind of come together and say, did you understand this? Did they really say this? What does this mean, right? I do also appreciate the town halls, and I do think that they should be more often, right? The town halls to fully give us an opportunity to be able to ask those questions, or where when we got those emails, we couldn't really understand. I'm also asking in reference to, like, when we go back in school, when our kids go back to school, more visuals, right? I really think that we should have a reminder, but like a visual reminder for our kids, for ourselves. How do we practice safety, right? I would like a printed schedule. I don't have a color printed at home, but can we get a printed schedule for our kids when it's the first day, so my kids can have a reminder what exactly, the schedule that they need to follow. I requested an iPad for my daughter from the DOE, and to be honest with you, it has been a very interesting experience, because I've been on the phone with T-Mobile, who's providing the internet services for 2.5 hours, And I also been, I've called the DOE Central for their technology support team, and I've been with them an hour and a half, and it's been a challenge, but I had to do it for my daughter because she needed to ensure that the iPad was working in order for her to do the work. What I'm asking is that I do think that schools need to have their own tech team, but a trained tech team, right? Because we have many, from what I heard, the iPads had many different batches, how they were distributed. And so now they have different applications and all of that. But I do think we need to invest in our school staff, and there needs to be an IT support team from school, so we as parents don't have to go through DOE Central, other offices where we have to wait hours and hours for a response. Some of us have the luxury and that patience to wait, but some of us, we might not, right? Some of us might not have the minutes in our phone to be able to spend hours and hours in order for us to do that. My daughter, she's an in-person student, but I feel very confident that we can make this happen. However, within the last few days, I was feeling a little iffy. Should I make her all remote? And the reason for that is because I was hearing from our school communities, like we've been hearing that we have not received all the PPE, or we have not been able to have checked that the schools are safe to go back. And with that, when I asked my principal in reference to like, give me an example, and that what the PPE we have received, and they did say we have the hand sanitizers, the dispenser. But when I asked what type of dispenser, they said it's the one that you have to push, the hand sanitizer. Now I know I'm probably being like too unrealistic, but why wasn't really invested into like non-contact or touch dispensers, right? So I'm just wondering that maybe that's part of my dream, but why didn't we invest in that, right? Because I'm always thinking when we do investments, we have to think long-term goal. And then I've been in a lot of the school foods and DOH meetings in regards to the lunch options for my child when she's going to be in school. And I'm a little worried in regards to how healthy they will be. And so I understand that then my option as a parent, a responsible parent, will have to be that I send her lunch. But I'm also wondering, if I trust my school, why can't we have different varieties, healthier options or cold options for my child to have when she's in school? So those are some of the needs and the questions that I still have for me to be 100% sure that I want to send her back. That's what I have in reference to needs. If you were to ask me, what does the future of the school looks like? I really do think we need to think long-term investments in reference to technology. I cannot believe that a pandemic has to happen to us to see how in different school communities, regardless of different boroughs, how there's so much difference in reference to who has a device, a working device, and who doesn't have. I feel that we definitely need to invest in that. I said it before, our kids have made the best they could with this. And I think we still need to continue pushing and encouraging our kids to be innovative and creative. But in order for them to do that, we need to be that first. And so I really think that moving forward, we definitely need to invest. And I don't think investment should come from schools looking from grants and writing pages or pages. I think it should come directly from DOE. It shouldn't be that one school gets more iPads, and that's another thing, right? Or laptops, just because they're able to write a grant, or they were able to be given the opportunity to write a grant, while other schools are more of the minority communities don't get the opportunity, and therefore they cannot have it. I think that should come a direct investment, a long-term investment from the DOE, and it shouldn't, again, be based on a grant. That's what I have for now. I also liked what I heard earlier when someone said it's not about just being present, but the question is, are our kids learning? And that's what we need to continue, regardless if they're in school or not in school. How do we ensure that our kids are learning? And I look forward to being a partner, continue within my school, with the school communities, to ensure that this happens, that they are learning.
Well, Maria, you inspire all of us. There were a lot of head nods as you were talking. So know that you definitely are a blessing, and thank you for what you are doing and teeing that up. I think technology is clear. all of us recognize that as a continual dynamic. Let me say this, just again, in the space of holding myself and our team accountable. We will commit at a minimum to doing this once a month, everybody. You know, and if we see we need to do this every other week, we will assess that. I think let's get through the next 2 weeks, especially. But I think it is imperative that we are all aligned here in that manner. So we'll make that commitment right now to my team. I could see my team smiling already. They're like, oh man, he just gave us more work in front of everybody. School lunches, the training of tech teams, absolutely itself. So a lot of different questions there. I'm jotting them down. I'm going to ask before we respond to that, and I'm going to ask Meisha to give some top level response to that before we go to our other speakers. I believe we have, and Maria, we are going to answer your questions, but I want to do this in tandem if that's okay. I believe Destiny is on the line. Destiny Cannon, Bronx Center for Science and Mathematics, because I thought it was important that we heard from a parent and a student to start us out. Okay. Destiny, if you can hear us, you should be unmuted. You can go ahead right now and share from the student perspective how you're feeling, what you need, and how can we be helpful. So, Destiny, you can go ahead.
Hello?
There you go.
Okay, hi. My name is Destiny, and I am a high school senior and a proud member of the Bronx Community Action Team at Fitz Neighborhoods. Now, I know everyone is trying to find a way about opening schools and having everyone's safety a priority. I also know that the school year will not unfold as planned. All curricular goals will not be met, and expectations should be managed accordingly. The best way to navigate the school system right now would be to prioritize mental health over curriculum efficiency, like we're doing now. Ideally, the teachers would need, sufficient time to organize their lives and reconfine their classes before starting teaching again. It's also important for admin to have actively check-ins with teachers to maintain personal communication and take posts on how to best provide support. What is needed is that teachers should maintain a personal contact with the kids, which will truly be a challenge when migrated by the internet. Strong relationships positively affect engagement and achievement, and is important for the vulnerable children in particular. Last year, my school's guidance counselors and other admins hosted many meetings to support mental health. The need for computers access and internet is also a big need in terms of reopening schools. Because if children do not have the necessary access, then how are they able to go to school? Safety is another important need. Most young children will have a problem with distancing as being a challenge, and not everyone provides masks for their kids to wear. And especially not every school has masks that are being distributed to other kids. People will need to be safe during the pandemic. Even before the pandemic, safety was a priority when going to school. What I see for schools going in the future is the children are put first. Admin takes the time to make decisions amongst themselves for the better of students, but for the benefit of students, our opinion should be weighed too. Who knows what's best for children than children? We are very capable of making decisions, especially when it most affects us in the long run. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
I mean, that was a mic drop right there. I feel like we need to clap it up for Destiny right there, And Destiny, you are absolutely right. We're proud of you right there. Who knows best? Who knows best than the student and the parent, right? I mean, you are the ones of why we do all this. So absolutely. And I don't want Destiny to be taking my job. I'm glad she spoke after me. I'm grateful for that. So, all right. So let's combine these two before we go to our next speaker. And hopefully you all can appreciate, it's always good when you have an executive superintendent on the line. You can ask her the tough questions here. So we have PPE, which I think came up in both conversations, right? Computers, so let's just make that a computer, laptop, Chromebook, right? Whatever that is, the device conversation, right? the personal connection from teachers. And something that was raised in the chat, Meisha, was will the teachers be from the student's school, or are they going to come from a central place? I think that's a question that people are wondering here. The visual printing that Maria mentioned, all right, the visuals so that they can have that for the schedules, the meals, and mental health. I'm trying to compile this here itself there for this final summary. So I'll go to Meisha, and then we'll come to our next speakers at this time. So Meisha, if you want to answer any of those, let's unmute the superintendent, please.
Okay, yes, thank you. So I'm gonna do two things. One, I just wanna acknowledge that, like I said, we are here to partner, and our superintendent, Rodriguez Rosario from District 9 is on the call. Our superintendent from District 12, Rosado, is on the call, and our superintendent Vaughn from District 11 is on the call. So I just wanna acknowledge that they are here present, and you know, we really believe in this partnership. And Destiny, I don't know if you're gonna take my job, Mike's job, or one of my superintendents, or one of these principals' jobs, but you're taking somebody's job soon, because so many of your points are really connected to the direction that we're giving school leaders about our expectations, and that they're giving teachers around their expectations for how they engage with students. So I'm gonna lump some of these things together, but I'm also gonna ask my superintendents, when is your moment, bring some of these pieces in just in case I forget. And I'm sure they will. So first, the personal connection is super important. I had the opportunity to work with students through the Bronx Thinkubator to solve a challenge with me. And the challenge that I posed to them was, how do we build strong school communities and cultures in the world of social distancing? And much of what they asked for was about advisory, connections, building routines and rituals. And so we know that in school that's critically important to students feeling invested. So that is something that we're gonna be spending those first few weeks on. You know, the learning is important, but the connection in this disconnected space is even more important. So the first few weeks are really gonna be spent building those connections. We also have places that, like, we ended abruptly, right? So your stuff is still in your lockers, right? Your things are still in your desk in your classroom. Teacher stuff is right where they left it, right? And so the teachers didn't even really get to transition with their students from last year, and some students will have new teachers this year that they haven't even had a chance to kind of let go of the old. So we know that those transitions and relationships and connections are really important. Schedules are going to be available and posted. They will be posted in your school's whatever system that the Google Suites. Rafael's so much smarter than me about this technology stuff, so he'll explain all of that for me. That's why you got people who are smarter than you who work for you. So Erica and Rafael and Jackie and the superintendents will talk about the different systems that schools are using, but schedules will be posted there. And every family at this point should have been contacted by their school to say, this is your potential schedule. Meals will continue to be available. You know, we raised, and this came, you know, we raised a concern about hot meals because some of our families really depend on meals, but that is really a tough thing for us to do right now. So meals will continue to be provided, but they will be cold. Most lunches will probably happen in the classroom. We're trying to limit as much movement around the building as possible. As far as PPE goes, PPE is arriving every day, but I have to tell you this, and this is what I've said. I don't only know how to do the thing that's called being honest. I've done 3 walkthroughs myself at schools. And you know, every school that I've been in has PPE. There are definitely some schools where it hasn't arrived, but things are arriving every day. The chancellor has committed to every day there will be 30 days worth of PPE to support that school building. And in the buildings I went to, they had adequate PPE available. They had masks for young children, masks for adults. They had gowns, they had hand sanitizer, they had thermometers for temperature checks. So the PPE is available. We also know that, like, we have to build the culture for PPE, right? Like, it's not something we're used to. But I have to tell y'all, I'm ready. Let's go. Okay? So, you know, it's a part of our work. We have to make it fun. We got to make it cool. This is like the most exciting thing I got today. And that's part of building relationships and being committed. Like, where's the PPE swag? And, you know, how do we make kids feel connected through even, you know, the designing of PPE even. Technology is an issue. I can tell you that your principals have been raising. We know that there are more students who need devices. We're in the process of collecting devices from students who have graduated. But we are really working hard to make sure, listen, I'll say this again, I am like so, you know, committed to making sure that the Bronx is not left behind in this moment. And I can tell you all of the leaders are committed to making sure that we have Wi-Fi access, that we have devices in hand, and that every student is ready to start on that first day that we're starting remotely. And I can't tell you, there's been no greater advocates than your principals and teachers around making sure every student has a device, and so that work continues. Finally, I think the last thing, two things, mental health is a priority. I said that is connected to building those relationships in those opening weeks of schools and having continued access to mental health support as needed, not only for our students and families, but also for our educators. This has not been easy on them. It has not. The last thing I will say is, it was about teachers. So we have teachers who have applied to work remotely because they are in need of medical accommodations. And so that may result in our central offices redeploying staff members to support schools. However, if that is to happen at your school, that person is going to become a member of your school community for the year. So you will not have a teacher who's in, I don't know, Buffalo, zooming in to teach your kid who's a stranger. The folks who are going to be supporting students, if they are redeployed to schools, are DOE employees, and they will become staff members of that school for the entire year so that there is consistency. And you know, that's just what we have to do right now. What we've made clear and what we understand is we are all teachers right now. And so all of us got to get on the front line where it's most important for us to be, and that's in classrooms with kids, and making sure that that learning that we are all committed to happening is really happening.
If I got my own branded mask, but I'm gonna let y'all rock right now. I got my own Michael Blake mask, but I'll go get it in a second since we out here just showing up. Danielle already showed everybody up because she showed up with the mask on. We out here just kind of sitting around, so we understand what time it is right now. Phenomenal. All right, so here's what we're gonna do, everybody. Keep putting questions in the chat. We're compiling it. We're recording it, as we mentioned. We're taking notes. I'm going to ask for the rest of the next set of speakers here, share your perspectives very specifically. We asked each of them essentially, 3 to 4 minutes to start it up from your perspective. What are you doing to make sure that we're ready to go for reopening? What is still needed? How do we reimagine? And we're being very clear about those 3 things that we need for our upcoming speakers to walk through. What are you doing from your perch to get us ready? Because we're all in this together, right? What do you still see as needed? Because we are doing collective responsibility here to reopen. And then also how we're reimagining. I think technology, I think we can all agree is going to happen a lot in this conversation. But if there are other big ideas that need to be shared, please do share them. I'm going to go to one of our sheroes right now. If we can unmute Danielle Presto's line, we'd be very grateful on that. I'm going to come back to the question about evaluations or IPs. I'm going to come back to these. And when we get to the superintendents and come back around to Meisha, we'll come back to these questions here. But Danielle, you have been phenomenal. So why don't you talk about what's happening on those 3 questions right now?
Okay, perfect. So I hope you can hear me. I'm still in the building. So I have my mask on, custodians are coming in, and, I'm kind of holding them off because they need to clean this office. But thank you, Assemblyman Michael Blake, for providing this platform to be in community with so many stakeholders at this time. It's so important to hear from different vantage points. Thank you, Maria, for being so specific about how we can better support our families and destiny. I was going to give you a job offer. I feel like Executive Superintendent Porter offered you one, so we'll talk later. But I applaud you. You're a true advocate. This is a real critical time for our learning communities. We're really looking forward to answering the community's questions because we felt your frustration when we didn't have all the answers. I read our school's Instagram page and I feel it, and to answer the question, what are we doing? I can speak about what's going on in this building, and we're getting ready to go live on Instagram and share videos with our families so you can get a peek of what's going on inside. So, we're busy 7 days a week. Tents are up at my school. I have a campus that just lends itself to safe outdoor learning. Like I said, the tents went up today and they're beautiful and they are school colors. So we're set inside. We're making sure all of our signage is up. We have adequate PPE. We even received additional thermometers. So if our families need them at this time, we can share those out as well. We have, Maria, you're right, they are the manual hand sanitizers, and I kind of thought about that as well, but as soon as they press that, they do have the sanitizer in their hand, so, they are able to. It's not optimal. I hear you, I hear frustration. I'm looking right at you. I know. They're in every single classroom and in every single room throughout this building. So we're ready to speak to our students about how to keep themselves safe, the hand hygiene, the masks, and we're leading by example. We're socially distanced. I'm having my admin cabinet meetings through Zoom every morning. So we're ready, and we're really looking forward to sharing what we're doing inside. A lot of my teachers who still want to deliver that small group instruction have created shields to protect our students. So again, we're ready to show our families what's happening inside these walls. What do we still need? So we're coming up with some really imaginative ways to get students into our classrooms every day, whether you're full-time remote or whether you're blended at home or in the chair in our building. We've invested in webcams so that we can bring you into the room 5 days a week. So just getting excited about innovative ways to make this happen. What do we still need? And I know Assemblyman Blake, you brought this conversation up. We can be as creative and as imaginative as possible, but if our students don't have stable connection to internet at home, then we're not going to reach them. So our instruction is only as good as our connectivity in these times. So I know we'll continue to advocate alongside of Assemblyman Blake to make sure that our communities get a tower or whatever it is they deserve, so they can stay connected. As far as District 7 and the broader Bronx, we've spent at the onset of the pandemic, we as a district and borough, we're standardizing our instructional approach to include project-based learning, right? So going deeper to give students the opportunity to develop these knowledge and skills set around challenges and problems that we're facing in the real world, right? Because the real classroom is outside these school walls, and we need to find a way to merge the two and empower our students and our community, right? So just exploring ways to help our students, families, and staff process and respond to what's going on, understand its complex causes, and strive for solutions. So, so that's, in 3 minutes, that's what's going on 7 days a week, probably 14 hours a day. So we thank you so much for the trust you place in your principals. We have your most precious cargo, right, in our hands, and we take that so serious. So thank you. Thank you, Maria. That felt good when you said you trust your principals, because we're working. We really are alongside of our strong leadership. So stay tuned. Big things are coming for our NYC DOE students. We promise.
And we're grateful because of you. We're able to make a lot of things happen right now. So thank you, Danielle. And I'm I'm looking forward. Every time you walk up and down the block, you can see that good energy when you pass by 29. You just know good things are happening over there, all day, every day. And yes, this definitely will be a village approach for Siobhan, who's put that in the chat there. Speaking of, in order for us to get this right, and I'm going to come back to things that were mentioned. I just want to keep us moving here. And I made some notes about some things Danielle mentioned. To our teachers, obviously, we can't figure this out without our teachers. And so in that representative of that, Leroy Barr, U of T secretary, you all have been a little bit busy the last few days. So just a little bit. So we'd love to hear on behalf of the U of T and the teachers where things stand. Of course, thank you to you and to Mulgrew and to Cassie and everyone else. But we'd love to just get a perspective from the teachers, again, to those 3 specific questions. Update directly from you all. What's happening? What more do you need? And then how do we reimagine? Leroy, take it away.
Thank you very much. And good evening, Assemblymember Michael Blake. I want to thank you for this opportunity to be on this call, just to speak to people tonight, just kind of bring that perspective to my sister in the struggle, the executive superintendent, Meisha Porter. We're doing together, all the principals, the superintendents, the U of T members who are on this call, and to those who are in the chat. I see some of them typing in questions, but most importantly, to the parents. It was just said by Danielle, who entrust us with their most precious gift every day. I think ultimately we all want the same thing. We want to make sure that the places that we go into work are safe for us to return to. And much has been said. We've covered the relationships between teachers, the relationships between teachers and students, the relationships, the technology, training, testing, and safety. But I want to just kind of focus a little bit on the things that we've been struggling for on your behalf. What we've been saying, because March has been a very long 5 months for all of us. Very long and trying and scary times, quite frankly. Scary times for the past 5 months for all of us. And we left in March, and you heard we left in March. It was quick. We didn't have a chance to shut down our rooms. We didn't have a chance to really say goodbye to our kids. And all those things, and all of those things have effect. And you heard about the psychological needs of our students, of our members, of people who are directly affected by this, not just by what's going on in terms of their school, but what's going on in their home. They may have lost people. So there's a whole lot that we really haven't dealt with. But in terms of what we were looking for, in terms of our vision, what we asked for were 3 basic things. We basically wanted to make sure that supplies were in the building, because what we said was that we would follow the advice of the medical professionals. And we've been listening to the epidemiologist from Harvard, from Northwell, and other places in terms of what will it take for our school buildings to be safe to return to. Because what we know is that teachers want to teach, they want to get back in, principals want to get in and do their work, members want to be there, but what will it take for our buildings to be safe, not just for us, but for the children who we love and serve every day? And they told us you need to have 3 things in place. The first thing they said was that you need to make sure that the supplies are there. And you heard a lot about that. I won't go into it. The PPEs, the cleaning supplies for the custodians must be there. You got to have soap in the buildings. You got to have running water. Some of those things that really should have been there before, right? But you have to make sure those things are in place. Then you have to have procedures in place. You have to make sure that you know how the kids are getting off the bus and what door they're coming through, how they're walking down the hallway. Do you have plexiglass up in the main office to protect the secretaries? I saw a secretary in our chat as well. Do you have all those things in place in terms of how the day-to-day rhythm of the school is going to work as you're keeping people safe? And the third thing they said was that you need to have some type of testing in place. So Meisha went through it clearly in terms of trying to explain to us what that testing program looks like, or what we agreed upon. And I say we, it's the city of New York, U of T, CSA, DC 37. What we all agreed upon was that we needed to have some type of testing program in place. And that which we settled on is a medical monitoring plan. And Meisha mentioned that in terms of a mandatory testing of a percentage of the people in the building on a monthly basis. So even in terms of what we asked for, we were asking for a baseline in terms of testing everybody before they got in the building, but that's not as important, according to the epidemiologists who are out there. It's not as important as making sure that you're doing something on a random basis every month so that you can try to catch the asymptomatic either children or staff that might be coming into the building, and then you know how to shut down, right? To catch it. I got to plug in because my battery's running low. You have to catch it. You have to be able to isolate it, and then you have to be able to make sure that you can deal with those things as they come up. So those are the three things that we said had to be in place. I'm happy that we were able to, as of yesterday, come to an agreement so that we're all on the same page in terms of making sure that that happens. So you heard that next week, teachers are going in. I'm thankful for the fact that they're getting time to actually prepare, because in a normal situation, teachers come back 2 days before kids do, right? And that's a normal situation. The fact that we're now gonna give them a week and a half to actually prepare, not just to receive their kids in terms of teaching lessons and preparing for that class, but preparing in terms of what does this new reality look like? So that's what's still needed in terms of that particular training. There's time built in for that, and we're hoping that we can get that done quickly and efficiently during the next week and a half. Ultimately, we want to use this time to reimagine what schools could look like. This is really an opportunity for us all. And we have identified, I think all of us have identified the deficiencies that have been around. It's an opportunity to try to readjust those things to make sure that our children have what they need. We have like the laptops being given, we have to make sure that the internet is there in their homes as well. But just in terms of how we teach and reach our children every day, it's an opportunity for us to reimagine what that looks like. We're actually looking forward to making that happen. So we are looking forward to working with the partners who are on this call, the parents, the different groups that we work with, to actually bring that into a reality to the benefit of those who we love and serve. So I'm just here to answer questions. I thank all of you for being on our call, and most importantly, to our parents, to our kids. We will continue this fight until we all have what it is.
Leroy, we appreciate you, my brother. Thank you for your leadership, and especially for you and all the other advocates that came together in the last few days. We all needed more time. Let's just be real. You know, I think we all got to acknowledge that. You know, we were not ready to start September 10th. I think we can all appreciate that. And this is a new normal for all of us. So that responsibility there. So again, for those that didn't hear, supplies in the building, procedures in place, medical monitoring itself being those three elements. And I think, again, the reimagining. I'm going to say this. I know I saw Eddie. I think Eddie is here. You know, Thinkubator, shout out to Thinkubator. There's several of us that have been talking about the need for a immediate conversation around a reimagination around education strategy. We usually do that on Mondays at 6 o'clock. We usually do a Zoom Mondays at 6 o'clock. I'm saying to everybody that's here, that's been around a little bit of everything: education, criminal justice, social justice. The same way you got this invite, we'll send this back out to you. I would invite you to join us Mondays at 6 for those conversations so that we can start reimagining. And shout out to Ali and so many others, Ali and Rose and Mac and Yaz, area from our team that pulled that all together for all of us there. So Mondays at 6 p.m., please be on the lookout for us on that. And I do want to say one final piece. Several of you have been asking me this directly. Meisha, forgive me. I know you're my friend, but I'm gonna give you the respect that's due. Madam Superintendent, because it is important for us to do the right thing. A few have asked, and I don't know this answer offhand, what happens to the students who don't have a number? I'm not sure if this is like a tech number here. This has been referenced a few times. Some of you have asked me this. Essentially, what happens to that family and what happens to that person? I'm just putting that out there because that's being messaged to me, so folks can be aware of that there, okay? So allow me, we talked about community. And Leroy, I know, hopefully you can stay because I know we're going to have teacher questions. Okay. We've talked about community, and several of you have asked this in the chat here about community engagement, our families, our parents. So we want to take this time now. Let's go to the CECs for some of that conversation, if we can. Farah, I know you're here. If we can unmute Farah's line, please, so we can hear on, again, the perspective from the CECs. What do you need? What are you hearing? And how can we be helpful? And again, everyone, keep putting your questions in the chat. I know our superintendents are on the line here, and I know Rafael, when Rafael speaks, I think his team is compiling these in real time as well, so we'll be ready on that. But Farah, let's unmute Farah's line so that she can give us some comments from CEC.
Well, thank you so much, Assemblyman Blake, for doing this, and for your team. Thank you to your team also for putting this together, because I think this is a very important discussion. So to answer your questions, I really think that the most basic things that school need in order to reopen, right, is to have that honest conversation that I think we are beginning to have here concerning logistics, resources, equity, health realities, and what actually is really possible. So I applaud our executive superintendent. She knows I love her. And and my superintendent is also there, Dr. Tobiah. She knows I love her, but we got to speak from the point of view of the community and the parents, right? And if we heard what Maria and Destiny had to say, there is a big disconnect between what the DOE is saying and what parents understand, right? So I think in order for us to move forward, we have to make sure that parents are at the table at all times and on all levels, right? Because we know that somebody said earlier that the parents are the first teachers. The parents are also the first protectors. They're also the first doctors. So when you're sitting here and you're talking to us about the health of our children and protocol in school buildings that we did not help to design as the first protectors and the first doctors of our children, that's a problem. And I want to say to the DOE that surveys are not conversations. Having us go on town halls, and Dr. Tobiah, I love you for those town halls. They are great, but they are talking not to parents or with parents, but at parents, right? This is what we are going to do for you. Well, what if I have a problem with the procedure that you have put in place? How is it that the opinions of parents are not asked? That when the DOE wants to put forward a protocol or a policy, how is it that we are not at the table? And maybe that brings into question, because somebody was talking about community, that we need to go into smaller clusters so that we can have those intimate conversations with all the stakeholders on the lowest levels, and we can bring it back to the DOE and the people who are deciding policy. Because as you heard yourselves, and I had a whole list, but Maria and Destiny did my job for me. They're probably gonna take my jobs too, or my job too. So I don't have to go into details, but we can talk about process. And forgive me for saying it like this, but I'm a blunt person. The process stinks, right? So in terms of the way the teachers were brought to the table, unacceptable. The way the parents have not been brought to the table, unacceptable. The way the students have not been brought to the table, unacceptable. So I would say the first thing that we need is deciding to have those real conversations, and then we need the time, right, to have those conversations and actually build systems that will actually respond to the needs of the community, of the parents, of the students, and frankly, all stakeholders. Because this reopening, and even if I know it has been pushed back to the 21st and to the 16th remotely, it still doesn't address so many issues and so many questions that we have that it still feels rushed to me. And yes, I hear what the UFT, Mr. Barr, Leroy, right, just said. But as a parent and as an advocate for parents, I need to be at the table because I don't fully agree with what was agreed upon, right? Because the idea that I should send my child into a building where people are not being tested every day, that's a problem for me. And I hear what the CDC may be saying or what medical experts may be saying. But if I'm not at the table for you to assuage my fears, because the most important thing that I've ever created in my life are my children, then that's a problem because I can't entrust you with my children if I can't trust you. And I can't trust you if we are not having real conversations that are basically telling the truth. So I know we are moving in terms of time, but first and foremost, conversations and time to have those conversations and then to really build systems.
Well, Farrah, what I would say is one of the things that I was taught at my alma mater, Northwestern University, I show love to NU all the time, is real conversation is not waiting to say your part. Real conversation is actually listening and responding to what someone says, right? And so to your point, a few different things. Surveys are not conversations. That's real. That's real. And I think we can all acknowledge that. Okay. And Tim, I'm seeing your point about asking everyone to slow down for translation. Absolutely, we will. Okay. And there is a disconnect between information share and what's happening versus what the parents are feeling and understanding. So I think we can all acknowledge that, and equally what the students are receiving and understanding, as Destiny laid out. I am presuming this, but to take assumption off the table, to our respective superintendents, I don't know what information flow has happened in English, Spanish, and French in the last 24 hours to our parents and families about the changes. But however we can help and support that flow, but more importantly, I do think there needs to be some smaller conversations probably in the next 48 to 72 hours as people are trying to figure this out, to Farrah's point. Again, not assuming, but asking that our respective superintendents, I know we are all busy, but however we can make that happen would be incredibly appreciated. And I'm definitely I'm just telling you right now, I'm just gonna borrow the line about parents are first teacher, first protector, first doctor. I'm just telling you now, so when you hear it in my speeches, that I give you credit on that, because that was a really good one. That was dope, okay?
Thank you.
No problem. So let's keep building from here. Dr. Tabaya and Brother Rafael Alvarez. So here's what we're gonna do, okay? We're going to hear at this point, specifically, we have 8 and 7. However, we have other districts on the line. I want to acknowledge all of my other districts here. I see, I'm going to be on bad behavior. I see Leticia here. Much love to my sister right there, okay? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do 8 and 7. Rafael has a visual that we're also going to show and talk through momentarily, okay? And what I'm going to ask is, Dr. Tabaya, you go first here in the framing of what we talked through. Brother Alvarez, you will go next to make your comments and then show the visual, and then we'll bring it back, everybody, because at that point, hopefully we've answered some of the questions to then open it up a little bit further, okay? Does that work for everybody? I'm seeing head nods. Okay. Dr. Tabaya, please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for having me. So it's good that I'm going after Farrah, so we're partners together. And I think, when I'll just talk about reimagining first. I think when we reimagine going forward, it's really about what Farrah and I talk about all the time. How do we get community more involved? How do we get parents more involved? And and communication is so important. Those are the two key words, community and communication. So we are, doing our best to have in district 8, we have town halls. Every school is practically doing them every week. And we're trying our best to open them up and to provide information. But as we all discussed, the information is coming so fast, it is challenging for the principals to keep up with it. And I know they're doing their best to get it out to families. But I think this is an opportunity for us to use the new platforms that we have to reach more people, because I know at our town hall that we have, I was on one last night, there was 175 people there. So although it is difficult for us not to be together, this is providing us an opportunity to be together in new ways and to connect more than ever. So although sometimes we feel isolated, we're really together more than ever. So I think about reimagining going forward. We, thinking about how we can use these new tools to really just do what Farah was saying and what Maria was saying. Making sure that our parents feel included, feel heard, and that we're making it clear to them, because a lot of the schedules and the different parts that we're doing, there is a lot, and we do have to explain it. And on our town hall, we're not going to get off until every question is answered. So that's the motto. We just need at our town halls, but we just need to have meetings. If we have to have them every week, that's what we're doing. So I think reimagining is about communication and community, and just building on the new tools, what we need. Everybody said it, technology. And I think as superintendents, I know all of us are thinking about creative ways to get technology so that we have it for every student, our most vulnerable students, to everyone. So one of the things, partnering with organizations, like we're partnering with Kids in Need to get technology in our district. We have to think out of the box to get what we need for our kids. So thanks again for having me, and I look forward to improving our communication and getting those small communities together so we can hear more parent voice.
Absolutely. Thank you. Now, if you're giving yourself that work of weekly town halls, I think, hey, okay, well, we'll be ready to rock, all of us together. And yes, for folks that were asking if I had a branded mask, yes, I do. Just so you understand, I told you I came ready. There'll be no confusion when we're out here in these safe streets.
Add one thing really quickly.
Of course.
Just to, thank you, Farah, for always being honest and transparent. It's greatly appreciated. I do think, to Dr. Tobias' point, and I know Rafael's going to talk about what he's done and how they've communicated. I think what we need to do better is communicate what we're communicating and how, and what conversations are happening, because I think there are a lot of conversations happening, but we aren't being very good about getting that information out. And so I agree with you. I'm actually going to steal your line that a survey is not a conversation. That was a mic dropper. That was dope, for sure. And I'm going to probably include it in my message to principals, and I will give you credit as well. But I do think that we have to be really good in this moment, especially about communicating what is being communicated, who is a part of the communication, so that parents know conversations are happening. And I think we have to leverage our parent leadership to help be voices for us. So thank you for that.
Perfect. Rafael, Superintendent Alvarez, over to you.
Hi. As they get ready to show the PowerPoint, sorry, I'm on the wrong speaker. I'm trying to unmute, but it won't let me.
We can hear you, Rafael.
You're hearing me from my desktop. I'm trying to do it from my phone.
Oh. 1 second. Just try now.
Okay, great. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Great. So as my team member Florentino brings up the PowerPoint, we just wanted to share with you how we wanted to do this, Michael, if it's okay with you. We have questions in 5 different categories: technology, health and safety, early childhood, actually more categories, instruction, and school environment. We're going to post the questions that are available up there that were the most asked questions in CEC 7, and you could select which ones you want us to answer, and we'll go from there. On another note, all the questions that have been placed in the chat, my team has been in real time collecting the questions and trying to answer them based on what we have. By the end of the night, you should have an answer to all the questions that you need that we have answers to. And you could share that with your constituency. I also want to share that I have the Director of School Facilities for District 7 on the line. His name is Joshua McGinnis. He's also going to be able to share information on PPE as it relates to real time, what's in the schools in District 7. We try to compile every 2 weeks, we meet with CEC, and CEC reaches out with parent coordinators and everyone else to get everything that the community is asking for. And then in real time, we try to come up with solutions to address some of the things. So if you will, I'm going to start off while they gather this PowerPoint with trying to answer some of Ms. Panora's questions. Ms. Panora. Ms. Panora, you asked about technology teams. I'm glad you brought that up because in District 7, we do have technology teams. There are 5 members in every single school that we developed over the probably in April, May, to help support ensuring that every school had significant technology support. We collaborated with the DIIT office, which is the IT office that supports the DOE, and they did several extensive trainings with each of those members at each school so that it reduced the amount of time parents in our district and community had to wait in order to actually receive support from the tech side, as we recognize that that was a big challenge. Now, all these things that I'm talking about are in response to parents' concerns and parents' needs through my consistent meeting with CEC 7 members, parent coordinators, and parent communities throughout the district. So I just wanted to press upon that. When you talked about printed schedules, we as a district created the printed schedules for every single school based on whatever model a school had and provided it to the schools, which I know that in District 7, we handed that out with the parents group or whatever cohort a student was actually going. So I want you to know that in D7, and I know across the Bronx, because I speak to my colleagues all the time, those things are actually happening. Florentino, would you like to go to the next slide? In the next slide, what you're gonna see before he plays the video are 2 videos. One is an elementary school, and then the next one is a middle school. It's 3 minutes long, so we're gonna go through some of it, and anybody who wants the video, we are welcome to share it with you. The expectation is by the end of next Friday, every single school in District 7 that's under my superintendency will have a welcome back video that gives almost a virtual tour of what the school is expected to look like when students return. So right now you're getting a sample of a elementary school, and then you'll get a sample of a middle school. What you're going to be able to see is that by the end of next week, every parent should be receiving a video from their own school as to what it looks like to be in the school. And that came from a CEC meeting about 3 weeks ago where parents said, well, we want to go into the school. We want to see what it looks like. And so we said, we can't do that because we'll have too many people there, but we will make videos. And so that was my commitment to the community as these meetings consistently happen. So here's one video, and Florentino, if you could just play the video so that parents can get an idea of what classrooms are looking like. Isn't that working? How about we do this? I know it works on mine. Florentino, just let go of the PowerPoint. I'll share mine. Oh, that's the second one. Let's try the second one. This is the middle school.
We are going to discover just how strong we are as a
And obviously we're having difficulty with the volume, but you're getting understanding. The principal is walking parents through what it's actually going to look like in a school where classrooms are set up for instruction for a middle school environment. and the support she's providing in her school. Not only about the social distancing and how desks are going to be separated, but she also talks in the video about the social emotional learning and the trauma support that's going to be embedded in every and anything that they do at this particular school. So those classrooms, as you see, there's boxes on the floor that in this particular school, they measured to ensure that there was clarity. You're also seeing the hallway where the floors have which way directions are going and talking about social distancing. Here you're seeing a video of a restorative practice room where we create a supportive environment for a restorative justice center, where students have the ability to be able to come to speak to social workers as well as guidance counselors and other staff members that have been trained to support students' social emotional learning, but more importantly, also the adults as well. And so this is a place where they earn their spots. As you heard, their mascot is the cheetah. So they earn their spots by having a safe, problem-solving, organized, and those aspects. And then this is their motto: to inquire is to investigate, which is for discovery. So just giving you a sense of what our schools look like, because this was a request from our parents. What are you providing to our kids when they're in your schools? We don't know. We haven't seen. Nobody has really shown us. So we want to be able to see. So every school is creating a video similar to this so that every parent in their school community has access to knowing what's actually happening in their schools. We felt this is another way to ease some of the frustration and tension that parents may have about what does their child's environment look like if they're not even able to access it. And so here you're seeing about the teaching staff and the different tools that the school is going to be using to be able to provide support to parents, whether it be looking at Twitter or messages to parents, being able to see grades, contact cards, and this is just one particular school. There's a commitment that by next Friday, all of our schools will have this. This will go out to all of our parents, and it will also be on our district's website. For those parents who do struggle with language, because we do have multiple languages in our district, our website enables translation in 180 languages. So when the video is played in our website, parents will be able to, in real time, hear the translations, obviously subtitles, see the translations for the language that they speak. So we just wanted to give you an idea of some of the things we're trying to do to address some of the concerns that parents have been having across our district. Now, Michael, there's 6 questions here. Before I go to the 6 questions, I want to turn to the next page really quickly, to the next slide. Florentino, if you can go to the next slide. The next slide. The slide with the PPE material, please. No, go back. You must have missed the slide with the PPE material. Well, what we wanted to share, and since I have the Deputy Director for School Facilities, I have to tell you, Joshua McGinnis has been working 24/7, 7 days a week. I know because I reach out to him at midnight, at 3 o'clock in the morning, at 5 o'clock, and he always answers the questions. Well, we wanted to share with you of the total number of equipment that is supposed to be presented to all DOE schools. In real time, the numbers that are actually been distributed to the District 7 school communities and the percentage of the 30-day supplies worth that was already distributed. In 2 sections, you can see the hand soap and the hand soap dispensers, where some schools have received them. However, you're seeing 0% because those are the number of cases. That delivery is expected to happen no later than September 8th for District 7. But all the other materials that you're seeing here have already been delivered to District 7 schools, which is why you're already seeing some videos that already have the signage and other materials. So if we can go back to the custodial questions, Michael, I'd ask that you would ask any 2 of those questions so that we can, in the interest of time, we can keep moving. But you can ask 2 of those questions, and I have Joshua McGinnis, who's the director of the Deputy Director for School Facilities, and he'll be able to answer 2 of those questions about school facilities.
Well, I think just looking at the list here, the PPE. So I guess the question around PPE, I'm gonna actually combine them. So PPE being available, and how often will they be replenished? So how about you combine 4 and 5? Josh,
Okay.
would that be helpful?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Thank you for everybody for having me tonight. This is great. I also have a child in public school, and there's no better motivation than that. So I can totally make that connection. This feels like a community. District 7's been great. The CEC has been really knowledgeable and really supportive, which makes my job a lot easier. But let me answer question 4 and 5 for you. Will the school have PPE available for students, staff, and visitors? So yes, that's a big yes. All schools will have PPE supplies for students, staff, and if need be, visitors. We want to make sure masks are available for everybody that's currently in the school or just happens to be visiting. Question 5, how often will PPE and disinfecting cleaning supplies be replenished? So as of now, PPE supplies will be replenished when needed. Right now I have a 30-day supply for all those items established in all of my schools. I've been really adamant with all the custodial engineers, almost with, there's no such thing as too much. Because right now we don't know the burn rates and what they're going to be on a weekly basis. So I really would like to aim higher than lower and making sure we have enough supplies. So hopefully that answers those 2 questions for you.
Definitely it does, and definitely it does, and incredibly helpful here. And what I would say, for the sake of time and conversation, and if we can unmute Rafael, that'd be helpful, please.
I'm here.
For the sake of time and conversation, let's tie this together here in terms of to the final piece. So I want to give space to our other superintendents as well. Okay. Where do you see you're going from here, Rafael, in terms of District 7, that the parents, students, and other allies can be aware moving forward?
So we're in partnership with our CEC and very close with our CEC, but not just our CEC, our parents at our schools. So we deal a lot with our President's Council, as well as consistently dealing with our parent coordinators who are in the field having conversations with the parents. For the sake of time, all these questions have answers to. Michael, we will send that document to you for the District 7 community who want answers to these particular questions, as we're constantly meeting with our CEC. But we're looking at going more towards project-based learning in our district. Where we're aligning to the online remote standards to support students in engaging them in ways that support them. A major thing that we've done for our teachers is we've been providing training all summer long and into September, and we'll go through to December around all the different digital pedagogy that's out there, such as Nearpod, and all the tools that they're going to need in order to be successful in engaging children at home, as well as parents. We're utilizing all DOE resources, such as the ULIT coaches for K-2, or early childhood instructional coaches, and everyone else to provide support not only to teachers, but actually supporting parents in workshops along the school year. So my family leadership coordinator, Timothy Coleman, who's amazing, he's already currently working on creating a PBL series for parents that they're going to go through so that they get an exposure as to what their children are going to go through this particular school year as we delve into the work of project-based learning as a district. For anybody who's having any types of questions in the categories that we have, and I'll share this with your chief of staff as well as the PowerPoint and the answers to the questions within the PowerPoint, you're welcome to share that. And they're also welcome to come to CEC meetings, as this is the kind of work that we do. And then towards the end, we usually take on last minute questions that help guide and our thinking around how we're going to reframe the work. So to answer the question for Farah is finding ways to engage more parents. If I will, the next step that I plan to do, which I haven't done, and I think it's a learning experience for me in going through this process, is now re-engaging our students all the way from elementary through high school. We have a GEMS program, which is through my sister's keeper. We're going to start engaging those students in these types of town halls and conversations that we haven't done before. So we've engaged all community stakeholders. We forgot the student aspect, and I think that's the most critical one. And so I think that that's something that we're working towards going forward, including our young boys and girls involved in the decision-making that impacts them the most.
So, I mean, phenomenal is one word to use there. Just can't say thank you enough. I'm going to ask Rafael and your team to stay present because of all the questions that are happening here throughout. There's a lot of pieces here about iPads and other things. I just want to say thank you to what's happening there. That's just one reflection that's happening through one of our respective districts here. I do want to pause and give the space for any of our other superintendents who would like to share what's happening within your respective entities, schools, etc. At this time. I want to give that space so that other parents, students, allies can hear what's happening here at this time. Forgive me before I keep going, it was messaged to me that in District 7, they're starting a parent empowerment workshops in October. So csd7bx.org, I'll put that here in the chat. So let me pause to give the space for other superintendents before we open it up. And this is your time, everybody. I mean, you literally have leadership from across the Bronx here. Any of our other superintendents from other districts that want to come and make comments, I welcome you at this time. It looks like it's Claudine. Okay. Well, let me do this. I see Leticia first here. Can we unmute Leticia Rodriguez Rosario for District 9, please? There you go, Leticia.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can, my sister. Go ahead.
Hi, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. One, to be an active listener and to really understand more and more of the needs of our community and the questions that you have. So I so appreciate this opportunity for that. And we work, as Rafael stated, very closely with our CC and our President's Council. I have held meetings with students, town halls with students of all grade levels to make sure that their student voice is being lifted. I really, truly believe in that. So to Rafael's point, we can definitely, and we have partnered in many different things to make sure that the communication goes forward. We hold town halls. We started a parent instructional team that's giving us feedback on what are they thinking about blended learning, what are the questions, what are the considerations that we should be taking as we plan for blended learning and for remote learning, and also for SEL, like what are some of the concerns that parents have, what are some of the needs that they have. So we're taking all of this into consideration. We've held meetings with our BCO partner, our Borough Central Office partners, which truly, truly work with us and have listened to the parents as well, so that this work gets incorporated into the work that they do with our schools and also in the work that they help set up at the district level. So I'm excited about the work. I'm excited about what's to come. I love the idea that Rafael, so I'm going to steal the idea of the videos. We were doing something slightly different, but I'm going to steal Rafael's idea as we take from each other all the time. But just to let the community know we're here, we're present, we're accounted for. We're here to answer questions. We're here to share information, and we want to hear your voice. We want to know what you're thinking. We want you at the table. And so know that across the Bronx, I think I can truly say, we want our families present and accounted for as well. So if you need anything, do not hesitate to reach out.
And we have Chris Vaughn here.
Yes, hi, good evening, everyone. It's really wonderful to be here with all of you. Thank you, Assemblyman Blake, for inviting me. And again, it's a pleasure to be here with my colleagues as well. And I just wanted to say a few things, a few words. Again, I think as we look at the chat, I'm just going to raise up. One of the parents talked about parent pods, which is such a fantastic idea right now. And I think a lot of parents are expressing that. One of the things that we're doing in District 11 is having a Wednesday afternoon learning series, and that really gives parents an opportunity to come and learn with one another. And there's going to be lots of different topics. It's going to be how to help your child in terms of instruction, in terms of what's happening in ELA and math. It's also going to be around social emotional work. And then also really just about collaborating, because at the end of the day, as my colleagues have said, it's really about communication, coming together. We can't over communicate enough. And it's really about us, the leaders, listening and moving out of the way and putting things in place that are really going to support our families. I also want to give just another shout out to making the health of New York City residents cool again. You know, as someone who lives in New York City and I, you know, visit the parks and go down to Cooper Union Square and I see people sitting in triangles and circles, and I see us doing what we need to do to be safe. And so I know that as we move into schools, you know, we are going to do what we need to make sure our students are successful and our families are successful when we visit. The parent earlier tonight mentioned how important signs are going to be and signage, and making sure that we have the postings up so that our students are successful. So I know, you know, that right now it's hand hygiene, it's mask wearing, and it's also social distancing. So again, thank you for the invitation. Thank you, Assemblyman, and it's wonderful to be here with my colleagues, and I look forward to a great reopening.
Can we, oh, there you go, Jackie, perfect.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to introduce myself to this wonderful community. This is my first opportunity to speak to you. Jacqueline Rosado, the Superintendent of District 12, very proud Superintendent. And I'd like to echo the sentiments of my colleagues across the Bronx under the leadership of Meisha. We truly are concerned about the welfare and the safety of our students, and we do a lot of sharing. In District 12, one of the things that I'm most proud of is the relationships and the empowering of our parent coordinators all across the district, and making sure that they are a part of all of the conversations that are happening in schools with the school leaders, because they are a very, very important part of the community. And in making sure that our children are safe and our parents are in the know about what's happening, and that we're hearing and listening to what the concerns are. And as a grandmother and as a mother, I understand what it is. My son and my daughter-in-law are teachers as well, and they have 3 small babies of their own. So I share your concerns for our children. They're our Bronx children, and we take that very seriously. So I want to thank the Assemblyman for providing this opportunity. I think I'm very proud of the work that we are doing in the Bronx, and I just want to shout out District 7 and 8. They are totally amazing, and it's a pleasure for me to be here and to listen to all of you, because in District 12, our families share the same concerns. And so my concern is around communication, right? So how do we convey all of these messages in a way that all of our parents can understand? Because all of the messages that all of the decisions that we're making in schools are impacting them greatly. And so we just have to be consistent, and we have to be transparent. So with all of that said, I want to thank you again for allowing me this opportunity to say hello. And I am here to be a listener and a learner as well. Thank you.
I feel like we've been Thanksgiving dinner on Zoom right now. This is feeling good right here. There's good energy right here. I appreciate that. And for those that are wondering, there is translation happening in real time for those that need it while they're watching this as well. If I might, Madam Superintendent, since this question seems to keep being asked a lot, and I am going to now open it up for people to have other questions. There seems to be just a very practical question around the device. If it breaks, what happens? Do they have to return it? What happens for Wi-Fi? There just seems to be a lot of you keep asking this here. So if you, Meisha, or someone you want to designate, but I think it'd probably be good for us to address that core issue there, please.
I'm going to ask if we could unmute Nikki Fram-Rosen, who has been feverishly in the chat, putting all this information in, because, the team has been crazy in the chat. There's so much information there. So Nikki has already put some information about what needs to happen on iPad. If there's an issue, are you there, Nikki?
Yeah,
Thank you, Meisha.
as the questions were coming up about who to contact and alternate places you can reach out to if you don't want to wait on hold, if you're put on hold. I put several of those links in the chat area for people. I also put links to tutorial videos and sites for both students, teachers, and families in there. It's a Google Doc that's there. And the last thing I put up was something that maybe some people weren't aware of, but sometime during the summer, they shut down the Wi-Fi on the DOE issued iPads because they uploaded a new program called Zscaler, I think it's called. And you should have received an email, but I realized that some people didn't. I was able to get the text of the email that was sent, and it's now residing in the chat area with the steps there. And then what to do if it doesn't work after that. And you can both put in a ticket online and or call. And then for those people, I also wrote in the chat who have the DOE issued iPads, and there is some other issue like a cracked screen or something else. There is a special line for New York City people to call because there's a 3-year warranty. So I think it's called Apple Care Support. And the PIN number or the account number is also in the chat with that number indicating what you need to do when you call about that.
And just to add to what Nikki shared, the Zscaler, which is what has to be activated on the iPads that automatically went off after July 31st, we do have the directions in Spanish. So Nikki, if you could, we could forward that to the assembly member, and anyone who needs it across the 5 boroughs can actually access that. I want to thank the BCO in having that translated literally within 24 hours.
Yes, and as Rafael mentioned, for our district, but it certainly can be used, we put together a 1-pager with sort of quick tips with, where to go to resolve kind of quick issues, so you don't have to go searching everywhere. And we did it both in English and in Spanish, and we have that. Yep. And like Rafael mentioned, we do have school-based support teams, which we're supporting. They have an internal Microsoft team where people are sharing information and posting things. I highly recommend, I also put on in the chat that those of you who have Facebook, there is a Facebook group called NYC Schools Tech. It is a private group, but you will most likely be admitted. And frankly, I visit there often to find the latest and greatest news. There are people from all 5 boroughs who are in schools doing the work, and there are people from Central and DIIT who are responding almost in real time sometimes to the issues that are coming up down on the ground.
And again, Michael, I'm sorry, Nikki. And again, Michael, we'll share those documents with you. Nikki, they put their email addresses in the chat. If you could just look for those documents and send them now so that they have them, that'd be great.
So let me ask this. One, I ask this all the time so everybody's on the same page. I always ask for English, Spanish, French. We have a large African community here in the Bronx, and so for each of our superintendents, that is imperative. Second, I put my, as well as Yaz and Mac's email in the chat for anyone, not just on education, because we're all community resource centers at this point, right? So anything that's happening for your families, please email us on that. But Nikki, I do have one more question for you.
Okay, great. I just took your email addresses and I put them, and I'll send that stuff that we have when we're through.
And then the links, I know that question's been there. One core question from everyone. For a family that does not have internet,
yes,
how are they getting connected to any of these things?
Okay, so what I've been able to arrive at earlier today is that parents were putting in requests for devices on the central system. You could put a request for a device. They said that was closing as of August 31st, though it is still open. I'm trying to get clarity, but they did distribute over 300,000 DOE issued iPads that did come with what's called LTE enabled, I guess, software, which allows those iPads without having a Wi-Fi account to do broadband and therefore get on the internet. However, we do know that there are kids in our community that have devices that were distributed from the school that don't necessarily have that internal device needed to do that, a hotspot. Thank you.
That's right.
So only now, once we get students to return to school so we can assess what that number looks like, we can begin, and schools can then appropriate devices based on the needs that the families have. So right now, there are families that are no longer in the system. They've either graduated or moved out of the city or going elsewhere. And so they are to return those devices they received, and that's happening right about now.
Understood.
And I have information about that, and I will share that with you. And but the recommendation out of Central is for all students, especially those who are coming for in-person instruction, to bring the device with them, because no matter what school they previously came from, for example, someone talked about having a 5th grader, now they're going to go to middle school, they're going to bring that device with them, even if it came from their elementary school, and it will now be part of the inventory at the middle school. And so that's the middle school has to assess what they have and what the real needs are of the families at that point.
And Michael, just to add to that, Michael, that schools will eventually be able to order computer devices with hotspots. For the first time in DOE history, it will be on Shop DOE, where schools will be able to purchase the devices with actual hotspots that will also have that 3-year Apple Care that will support in the event of breakage of the documents. And the DOE is currently working on identifying whether or not schools can purchase hotspots to be able to provide to those students who currently have DOE computers that do not have hotspots. That's still currently in the works. And I think the delay is us identifying if we can purchase that in bulk, so that it is more cost effective for the DOE and provides more access to our students citywide.
So let me ask this to Meisha.
Just the short. Right now, families who do not have a device or access to Wi-Fi should be contacting their school. That's because
they can do that, Meisha, they can do that, but they did leave the link open.
No, I know the link is open, and they could also apply through the link. But we want to make sure that schools know, and I would say, Assemblyman, that a lot of the schools are very much aware of the students who don't have devices. I think a lot of schools are aware of that. But if a family feels like, you know, or if there's a new family, because, you know, we have new folks still coming into our communities, they should contact the school. We've also been working with enrollment to say, when you enroll a student, we need to make sure we make a contact between the student and the school so we know what that student needs. So right now, that should be a direct communication. You know, they can, our principals are at school, so we can call. Our parent coordinators are at school, so we can call now and or send an email. But that is what should be happening now. They should be contacting their school directly, because you know, there's the transition of devices that is going to happen from the school, even if they're purchased centrally.
So let me ask this to Meisha real quick. So is there a central phone number that for someone that does not have internet right now, they can call to have their questions answered? And if that is, what is that number?
They can call 311. So if a family has a device issue, they can call 311, and 311 will get that information routed to the school.
Okay. And then
but if they have the number directly to their school, they can also call their school directly. They can also call, and we can send that information to you. They can also call a superintendent's office. And the superintendents can get that routed to the school. So there are a number of different ways that we can share. that we could lift up? I know Tim's here, so I'm gonna ask him to help me and be my partner in this moment and collect the superintendent's office numbers, the 311 number, and share this in the chat so that parents and families can contact directly the school. And I see that someone said 311 is not dealing with computers. They're not dealing with computers, but they're dealing with issues that come up for schools.
Okay. So I think one thing, if we can figure this out, is as a backup, there's another central number that we can maybe have, since we know 311 is used for a whole host of things. That'd be definitely helpful here. And to Leroy, from the teacher's perspective, what are there particular elements that you all are still needing that have not been addressed that we should make sure we're talking through here?
I think that, again, a lot has been said, and I think that it's important to have plans. It's really about the execution of those plans. And a lot of those plans are building specific. So we're going to take the time next week to make sure that everything that we talked about, all those things are actually in place, so that we're prepared to receive our children when they come back. So what we need is what we got. I think it's time. We needed something that was approved by medical professionals. And I heard loud and clear that a survey is not a conversation. That parents need to be talked to, and all the other comments made, I heard those loud and clear. And I just want to say that we've been working with parent groups, but it clearly it's clear to me from this conversation that more conversations need to be had with parents and parent groups throughout this entire city. And I want to acknowledge that for all of the parents who are on this call. But we want to make sure that we go through all those things to make sure that they're in the building, make sure that folks get training, make sure that, again, that the buildings and the teachers and folks who are there are ready to receive children in the most safe and orderly way come September 21st. So it is for us to continue to work together, to apply pressure, to ask questions, so that we can get to that particular point. And that's, I think, is the ultimate goal of this call, is to bring people together, to put those ideas out, but then to actually affect change. So I'm looking forward to
That's right.
and all those who aren't.
That's right. And this has been posed a few different times, but just addressing it so we're on the same page. For the families that are in temporary housing, how are we getting to them?
So I posted in there that we have people who work in the shelters through the city, and they are dealing directly with the Department of Ed about the exchange of the devices for them. So when we have issues that arise where we can identify the students live in temporary housing, we have a point person in our borough, and then we reach out to that person who helps us, navigate where in the shelter, and we work with them to get the devices to them. I did some of that in the spring. We had some stuff like that, and it worked out. But it's through our point person in the borough who supports the students in temporary housing. But that is negotiated between the housing department and the DOE on the city level to ensure that they get it.
Understood. And I'm seeing, I thank you everybody for the different districts putting your numbers in the chat. We will make sure Yaz and Mac and our team with Tim will compile everything so we can get this out to all the participants here tomorrow and thereafter. Let me pause. If you want to ask a question you've not had a chance to, if you want to raise your hand, you can do the raise hand feature or put a message in the chat saying you want to ask a question verbally. I would ask, again, just holding all of ourselves accountable, I would quite frankly ask for each of the superintendents, you are aware of needs of the families that we are not, that we can probably help with. And some of those needs may not have anything with the actual classroom, right? So whatever information to the superintendents, to the teachers, to the APs, et cetera, principals, et cetera, I would really ask that you, again, you have information that we could probably help. We have a lot of leverage in this moment to different networks. So the survey that you're doing with your parents, to please let us know. This could be from food insecurity to jobs to healthcare. I mean, I'm gonna give a lot of credit where it's due to Derek Lewis and to Desmond and the entire team that stood up the Bronx community relief effort. I mean, what they did was truly heroic, and how quickly they moved. So to every superintendent, every principal, every AP, I am directly asking you, you have information from your families that would be immensely helpful for my team and our coalition to be aware of, that we can then figure out how to support quickly. And I would equally ask that it is clear. I have learned a lot in this conversation, and I'm an elected official who has access to all of y'all. I can only imagine what it's like for a parent that's trying to figure this out, for a loved one trying to figure this out. If you all can have a community conversation with your parents in the next 5 to 7 days, I think that would be, it would be imperative. There's a lot there, good, bad, or different. So let me pause there. If someone has a question, you can either make a comment in the chat that you have a question, or raise your hand if you are on camera, so we can get those questions answered there at this time. Okay, Sister Peters has a question here. If we can unmute Casita Peters, please. And for the parent who messaged me directly, I sent you my email so that we can figure out how to be supportive to your family there. Casita, you are unmuted. Go ahead, Casita.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for this meeting. Very informative. My question is for families who are in charter schools. I know charter schools are their own entity. However, for those families who don't have, like you said, internet connections, is the DOE going to help those families?
So I can tell you that when we were distributing devices, charter families were also accessing those devices. Right now, I'm not sure if it's going to happen that way or if the different charter networks have figured out another solution. And so I would say to that question, more to come, and you should be in contact with your school as well.
Okay, thank you. And as far as hotspots too, with anything to do with technology.
Yeah, we'll say yes, but here's what I'm going to say to that question. Yes to what Executive Superintendent Ross Porter said. For anyone on the line, if for some reason you are unable to get what you need, charter, private, parochial, public, this is why y'all elected me, right? So, tell us so we can figure this out and how to get up. I'm a PS 79 kid, right? So I'm a District 10 kid. That's where I started. I was 79, 118, and Clinton, right? This is home for me, right? So when you're talking about these different places, I refuse to allow these kids to fall behind further where they're at, and we got to all acknowledge that. Everything got shut down in March. We can't do anything about that, right? What we can do is figure this out now. So to Casita and anyone else, and I would say that to the teachers on the line, I'm saying that to the principals, to the APs, to the superintendents, to everyone here. If there's something that you still need that you can't get, let us know how we can help you with that. And Casita, our information is there in the chat. You're very welcome. Great question. What plans are in place for the students' physical ed? We know kids haven't been moving around for months. Well, you better, give your kids some chores or something. Have them run around the crib right now. That's one phys ed opportunity. Folks out here walking around. But anyone that wants to either, I don't know if Leroy or someone from DOE, I have no idea on that question. That's a legitimate question. Phys ed, I don't know. If someone can unmute Leroy, I would be appreciative, please.
I found that button.
There we go.
So, and also I have to jump off soon, Michael. So I just want to thank you for the opportunity to even be a part of this today, and I'm committed to continue this, this work. Yeah. So in terms of physical education, I'm sure that there's a lot of programs out there in terms of how to get some exercise at home and trying to get children to engage in that as well. And quite frankly, us too, right? So that we can stay active. You know, I see a lot of kids outside with masks on, still engaged in physical activity. So I think that there are things that people can do there as well. But there are definitely some videos that are out there that folks should look into in terms of things that children can do at home, in terms of the exercise that they can take. I don't know if Meisha has something more than that, but I just wanted to make that comment. And again, I want to thank all the people who are on this call and Assemblymember Blake, if you need me, cool. Okay?
I'll just add really quickly, thank you, Leroy. Thanks for your partnership. That I agree with Leroy, but also we'll add, we're still figuring out what phys ed could potentially look like. We know that's important, but also that, you know, some of that outdoor space is part of us trying to come up with some resolution to the physical education question. So again, I'll just say more to come. We know how important it is. There's the COVID-19 and then the COVID-19 that few of us have added on. So we know how important it is to work through that and create space. I just want to also acknowledge, I saw Frank Hernandez, our Deputy Superintendent for District 7, also on this call. And he was also my daughter's assistant principal at PS 35 in District 9. So, you know, I hope that, and I've been reading the chat and feeling really good about how families and the community is feeling. And I hope what we've demonstrated tonight is that we are here to be in partnership. I have, you know, my superintendents are here. It's 8 o'clock at night. But the commitment is to being in real partnership. And we understand very clearly, and I think everyone on this call does this, sometimes we have to be the voices for our families because they don't have access, because they haven't gotten information in a language in which they require it. We have to be the voices. And I'll tell you, my Bronx superintendents know that in a way that, you know, no other superintendent in New York City knows it. So I love them. I'm so honored to get to work with them. And so I hope you see how committed they are to our students, our families, and our community.
Absolutely. So let me do this, everybody. I want to be respectful of the hour and respectful of you having to sit in front of a Zoom for 2 hours, right? So let me first say thank you. I will say this. This has been hands down the most collaborative conversation I've been a part of in months. And it feels good that we are all doing this. And hopefully we need to make this happen. We don't need a crisis to do this, everybody, right? We need to be much better about this. We need to be much more aligned about this. Our people are in need. And as several heard me say on a call earlier this afternoon, and allow me to briefly be on my soapbox, I am going to wrap this here. September is for all of us. September is about reopening schools. September is about figuring out what happens for these local restaurants in our communities. Because the reality is indoor, outdoor dining has tremendous impact on us in the Bronx from a job and economic standpoint. You know, September is the question of a lot of people are still freaking out about what happens with their homes. You know, there's a lot of things that are happening that we have to keep in mind here. And so I want us to all embrace, as I always say to my team, embrace the magnitude of the moment that we're in. And so to the woman that keeps me in line, because I'm a smart man, Sabrina Filson, my chief of staff, and to Yaz and to Mac and to Kelvin and Joelle and Donnie and my entire team, I thank them immensely. To my Bronx Impact team, who has been phenomenal to partner up with, Rose and Allie and everyone, I say thank you. So here are some concrete next steps, because I know there's a difference between activity and progress, okay? Monday nights, 6 p.m., just so you are aware, you are all aware of this, I'm going to say this aloud. We do a 1-hour check-in. It's been called Mondays with Michael. We literally just open up the space to talk about what's happening in real time, right? That's education, that's criminal justice, that's social justice, that's housing and healthcare. Because again, we got to be better about this. So everyone who has signed up here, you, your family, your friends, your boo, your boo's boo, whoever you want on that call, all right? I got your attention. I'm glad I got your attention. I got some smiles there. Mondays, 6 o'clock, we do that for 1 hour. I'm inviting you on that. That's one. Number two, I put in the chat thebronx.org. That is for the Bronx Community Foundation, okay? Monday is Labor Day. No, we ain't skipping. It's 1 hour. You can do a Zoom on your phone. You'd be good. You'd be good. You got work to do out here in these streets. That's one. Number two, so Bronx Foundation. So we did a Bronx Community Relief effort. A lot of you might not have realized it. So the food that was happening through World Central Kitchen, the collaboration with the 3rd Avenue Business Improvement District to help these jobs, et cetera, the PPE, all those pieces were happening, okay? So I would encourage you to go to thebronx.org and even sign up there if there are particular needs you have. I know we talked about PPE and technology, a lot of different efforts, but I would say to Derek and to Desmond and to Jason Duchin and to Abby Jo Siegel and to Judy Diamond, to the entire team, Michael Brady, I got to just show them love. Find that link, share that link, get that out to your communities, okay? Again, the 21st is still the start date, okay? If there's other questions around that, I would ask, if all right, and if my superintendent will allow me, it probably will be good for us to check back in at the end of the month, everybody, okay? And so, Meisha, I'm gonna ask you this question. Is it easier to do this, say, 3 weeks from tonight, which would be the 23rd?
Yeah, that would be great. I think we should, we will have started, and so we will have a lot, probably more information. We will have started remote and in-person learning. So that parents will probably have some questions, and, you know, I think that would probably be a good time to come back.
Okay. So everybody, you are aware, we can prepare, you can invite your folks. To my superintendents, I do want to be respectful of your spaces. Do any of you have something already happening on that Wednesday evening? If so, say so that we can coordinate ahead of time. I'm giving the space.
They agree with me.
Oh man, that's right there. Okay, very well. So Wednesday the 23rd. Okay, so we can align and be in sync there. Good. And then the last thing I'll say is this: it is impossible for us to act like we are okay given what's happening in the country right now. And it is okay to say that you're not okay. As us as leaders, I said to a few folks yesterday makes 7 years since my dad passed. And in the midst of that, from the day that he passed, which was on the 10th, to the day of his funeral on the 13th, I cried more last week than I did in the week of my father's passing. Because it is impossible to see what's happening to black men right now and be okay. Where we are watching the hunting and execution of black people in real time, right? It is impossible for us to ignore what's happening on police brutality. I got a lot of my boys that are good cops, and I acknowledge that. But I'd be damned if we're gonna be silent when there's a bad cop that's acting up, that we gotta hold accountable, because we gotta be responsible on both sides, right? I do not take lightly for the folks that were trying to burn down our businesses on Fordham Road and on Burnside. And as a kid who grew up on Crescent and Burnside, you are not one of us if you burn our shit down, right? And so we need to be very clear. We have to save our home, right? And this should wake us all up about what's happening right now. And at the end of the day, we will figure this out together. We will get the resource. We will be aligned. But we have to be one Bronx right now. right? And Meisha talks about Bronx Strong. I support that all day, every day. And that also means that if I can, I will say this. That means our pride has to get out the way. That means we may have information that someone else needs. It's okay to share that. That means someone else may get a little credit. Let them get that shine. It's okay. But we're doing this for the kids. That's why we're here. We're all grown. We're doing this for the kids. Right? And so we have to figure this out. And we have a very limited amount of time to do this. So on behalf of all of us, I say thank you. I love you immensely. I am going to be that crazy one. None of you else have to do this. That is my cell. I'm giving you my cell. I'm giving you my email. I don't care what time. I don't care where you're at. I don't care what's happening. We got to do this together. Okay. So we will be in touch. We thank you to everybody. If you need anything, please reach out. Superintendents, we will follow your lead and your school's lead on the communication. Yaz and Mac will connect with him for us to get information out in the respective languages. And if we do not talk to you before then, we will talk to you 3 weeks from tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern. And if we don't see you before then, have a great beginning of school, whether it be blended or remote. All right. Love you all. Thank you, everybody.